Today's tale is like a curious blend of Beethoven and a conspiracy theory, a composition that mirrors the unfolding drama of my own life. It feels like I've stumbled into a thriller movie or perhaps a poorly scripted soap opera, complete with the ominous backdrop of piano music. And not just any piano music, precise piano notes that seem to underscore the dissonance in the air. The stage is set with my son's weekly piano lessons, a seemingly ordinary affair. However, the plot takes an unexpected turn when I discover that our piano teacher, let's call him Mr. Sonata, has become my wife's newfound confidant. They appear to be hitting the right notes together, if you catch my drift. After our son's lessons, I've noticed an unusual amount of time spent at Mr. Sonata's house. My wife insists it's because our son enjoys playing with Mr. Sonata's kids, a seemingly innocent explanation. Yet, this implies my wife and Mr. Sonata are alone in the house, especially when his wife conveniently happens to be at work. This scenario strikes a dissonant chord in my brain. Not because I inherently distrust them, but because it's an unusual situation. The plot thickens when my son drops a comment that they were late because Mom spent a lot of time in their bathroom. Now, for the record, my wife would sooner face a grizzly bear than engage in such personal matters at someone else's house. So, what could she be doing in there? Perhaps discussing the profound nature of life or the chaos of existence. Unlikely, but one can hope. In my attempt to play a bit of Sherlock, I decided to confront my wife about her extended bathroom sojourns. Instead of a clear response, I was met with noticeable tension. This isn't a Dostoevsky novel, it's real life. But her reaction spoke volumes. The piece de resistance came when I brought up Mr. Sonata's wife. According to my wife, Mrs. Sonata is conveniently never around during these extended visits because of her job. Odd, isn't it? Their lessons are at 1:30 p.m., but Mrs. Sonata doesn't return until the evening. Either she's a secret agent or something doesn't quite add up. I'm not rushing to conclusions, there's a fine line between intuition and paranoia. It's easy to fall into the chaos of distrust, especially when fueled by subtle hints and vague events. But the pursuit of truth is essential. Before jumping to conclusions or burning bridges, one must investigate, understand, and then make an informed decision. This whole situation is a bigger mystery than why people watch 5-hour Twitch streams of someone just sleeping. I'm going to keep digging, not in a creepy lurking in the shadows kind of way, but in a genuine pursuit of truth. Fueled by suspicion and a desperate need for answers, I took a page out of the espionage handbook, minus the dashing good looks and martinis. Armed with a tiny audio recorder with a surprisingly long battery life, I slipped it into my son's backpack, hoping to gain some insight into the mysterious post-lesson hangouts between my wife and Mr. Sonata. The trap was set, and I waited with bated breath for the revelations that awaited me. The tension was palpable, akin to waiting for the bass drop in a song you've never heard before. The next day, with the excitement of a child unwrapping presents. With bated breath, I began to sift through the recordings, enhancing muffled audio here and there. Laughter, chit-chat, and benign conversations initially filled the airwaves, nothing too concerning. However, midway through, an abrupt silence hung in the air, the ominous kind that felt like the quiet before a storm. I braced myself. Suddenly, the serene ambience was shattered by a cacophony on the piano. It was as if someone was pressing every key with immense force. Was it an avant-garde performance, or did someone trip? I could only speculate. But then, I heard that sound, a moan, a gasp, and the unmistakable sound of two people in a hasty exit. My heart raced, my stomach turned, and a bitter taste filled my mouth. The clarity I sought came crashing down, confirming my worst fears. I'm not a man of blind rage, but the need for confrontation and, dare I say, revenge, coursed through my veins. Revenge might be a dish best served cold, but I'm burning up. What's next? A confrontation, certainly, but after that, only time will tell. I shared the shocking revelation with Reddit, seeking advice from the online community. Responses were divided, some urged caution, emphasizing the potential for misunderstanding, while others advocated for swift action, convinced that the evidence was clear as day. Unable to ignore the weight of betrayal, I decided to validate the authenticity of the evidence. However, I wanted to do it in a way that would also exact some much-deserved revenge. So, I bottled up my fury and waited an entire week until the day of my son's next piano lesson, the day of reckoning. The target was Mrs. Sanada, the piano teacher's wife. Driven by emotion, I left work in a flurry and marched into her office at the school district. Confusion and hostility met me as she looked me up and down, perhaps sizing up my intentions. Tentatively, I broached the topic of our spouses' secret meetings. At first, she seemed in denial, with emotions ranging from disbelief to sadness. I persisted, urging her to hear the recording, promising clarity. After a tearful listen, the sorrow swiftly transformed into a fierce rage. It seemed we had unwittingly formed an alliance in heartbreak and anger. The next moments were a blur. We found ourselves driving to her house, intending to confront our cheating spouses. The house greeted us with eerie silence, broken only by the innocent laughter of kids playing outside. As we ventured further into the house, unmistakable sounds reached our ears, sounds that shattered any lingering hopes of innocence. Bursting into the master bedroom, the scene before us was one of sheer guilt. There they were, our spouses, naked, startled, and scrambling for cover. A maelstrom of emotions swirled inside me, with anger being the most dominant. The room exploded in chaos, Mrs. Sanada hurling objects at her husband while I unleashed a torrent of words on my wife. In a fit of misplaced anger, the piano teacher threw something, accidentally hitting me. Red with rage, I couldn't restrain myself. I unleashed a flurry of blows onto him, ensuring he felt every ounce of pain I did. Somehow, I managed to keep the shots to his body, thinking of the children and how they didn't need to see their father with a messed up face. His trauma hidden mainly in his rib cage. Amidst the chaos, I took a moment to capture a few pictures of potential evidence for future battles. Taking control, I ordered my wife to dress and get her ass home. Outside, I surprised my son, telling him of an impromptu visit to his grandma's. He was excited. On the way there, I also broke the news that Mr. Sanada would no longer be giving him lessons. He was sad for a moment because he truly loved playing with their children, but that sadness washed away quickly with a slice of Grandma's fresh-baked apple pie. Returning home, the atmosphere was tense. My wife's pleas echoed through the house, but they fell on deaf ears. She cried, pleaded, apologized. I told her to shut her filthy mouth, and then I dialed my lawyer's number right there and then, kick-starting the end of our union. The wheels of the divorce process had begun to turn. She moved in with her mother, and as a stay-at-home wife, alimony was inevitable. As the tumultuous events unfolded, Mrs. Sanada, too, found herself on the path of divorce. A call from her revealed the effort she had made to salvage their family through counseling, but in the end, her husband's behavior proved insurmountable, leading her to insist on a divorce. In the aftermath, as the dust settled in my own life, custody of our son became equally shared. Each exchange with my now ex-wife was marked by polite indifference, and the woman I once loved felt like a complete stranger. It made me question if I ever truly knew her at all. This painful journey has reshaped my perspectives on love and trust. While the future remains uncertain, one thing is clear: I'll be wary of piano lessons. The innocence of music tainted by the echoes of betrayal and broken trust. And so, there you have it, folks, another marriage gone down in the flames of infidelity. The narrative serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of trust, the complexities of relationships, and the painful aftermath of discovering the unraveling of a once seemingly harmonious life. Dear listener, if you have reached this far, please click on the subscribe button. It will be a great help.